Hi everyone, my name's Declan McGlynn. Welcome to Friday Forum Live, Point Blank's weekly broadcast bringing you exclusive tutorials, artist interviews and industry insight every Friday, live from East London. Today we're looking at Reaktor's blocks and how you can build your own custom effects units. So today we are joined by Point Blank instructor Ben Pest to take a deeper look at building your own effects in Reaktor and to give you a little peek into what you can learn on our courses. And there's loads more about those on our website, pointblankmusicschool.com. And remember, today we are completely live, so get your questions for Ben in the comments and we'll get to them a bit later on. Ben, welcome.
Hi.
FFL first time?
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
Yes, you've given yourself quite a challenge.
Yeah.
The old Reaktor.
Yeah. We're going to try and get through as much as we can in the time that we've got.
I mean, it's definitely more kind of entry level. It's more friendly to entry level than it used to be.
Definitely,
yeah.
I would argue it's a lot easier with blocks now to sort of get something going quite quickly.
Yeah. And for anyone who doesn't know, what exactly is blocks?
So it's the kind of new method of putting modular components of synthesis and effects, audio processing, together in Reaktor 6. The thing that's good about it is that the blocks are compatible with each other without any kind of qualms. So you can just kind of connect stuff up, perhaps, you know, not knowing necessarily exactly what you're doing the whole time and get results out of it.
Yeah.
And that's what I quite like about it. You're not going to see any of the little red crosses that we're a bit more familiar with using
of course,
some of the macros in Reaktor 5.
Yeah.
And so they've all got kind of nice panel design on them as well. They all look quite nice. They all sound great.
Yeah, kind of reflects the Eurorack world.
It does, yeah. And then, of course, in the sort of the factory library of it, we've got quite a lot of stuff from the Monarch synthesizer, the filter from that, the oscillators from that, which are great, and the Rounds reverb and delay, which is, you know, like a velvet smooth kind of Rounds reverb. And there's quite a lot of user generated content on the community user library, which is a part of the Native Instruments website.
Yeah.
So what I've done today is just pulled a few things out from that, and then I'm modulating. And you can hear that's so we're getting some pretty serious modulation going on with that now. These clock speeds, you can see, I'm able to change without, you know, getting any artifacts out of that reverb whatsoever. Just doing some pretty fast modulation now. So if I stop it dead in a minute, you should hear the tail of that. Let's do another little hit of that. Yeah,
awesome.
So, I mean, what's basically going on here, and I've got the split screen happening with Reaktor 6, so you can see both the panel and the guts of it, what's going on inside. This is kind of, it's a really good way to get to know Reaktor this as well, because you can kind of relate between the two screens. So I've got two separate clocks which can be set to different clock divisions. At the moment they seem to both be set to fourths, but of course we could set them separately. And they are in turn triggering the LFO, which I think is from the bento box, which is in the factory library here. All of that stuff, if we just go into the browser and the library, you can see we get the inside the Reaktor blocks folder, we have the stuff from their various Rounds ensembles. So I've got the LFO from there. I'm literally just using the reset signal from the clock to trigger that LFO.
So that's every time it completes a cycle?
Yeah, every time it completes a cycle. In this case of whole beats, crotchets, it's sending a reset signal. We could obviously set those differently if we wanted. We could set those to be 2 steps of crotchets if we wanted to. Yeah. But that's just easy to be set there. And then that is then going into the B modulation input into the metaverb green, which is the block that I pulled out of the user library just now. And then I've got another clock because I thought it might be interesting to have a separate clock speed, which is going into the XYS sequencer, which I'm quite a big fan of actually. That's in the West Coast folder. That's that information. Add some of them. Yeah. So yeah, 2 different ways of achieving modulation on the same reverb.
Yeah, absolutely. And
you'll find this modulation A and B input is a kind of block standard.
Yeah.
So just about every block has those 2 possible modulation tracks, yeah. Which is great because it means you can just literally just wire up a modulator straight in and you're off basically.
So I guess that's a perfect example of the benefit
of the whole the whole exercise really when building in Reaktor, and I tell it to the students on the course here at Point Blank as well, is that one of the things, the benefits of going to this trouble is that you're going to come up with something that nobody else has got, and that's very important to me sort of creatively. Yeah. That kind of putting your own kind of stamp, your own mark on your productions.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And as you can see, I mean, you could get some pretty wild kind of funky kind of modulations of effects you probably wouldn't have thought of was possible. Actually.
And a lot of the time you're just trial and error.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's it. And I think Blocks really encourages that actually. If you look at the user library, which is actually part of the Reaktor community section of the native site, people have been, uploading loads and loads of these blocks, and they're all just kind of ready to go. So you can wire them in and just kind of try it out, and that I think is what's really has been a great benefit with Blocks, is that they are kind of actively encouraging you to just kind of see what happens. Yeah. What happens when I wire this up? What happens when I change that wire? Yeah. That's great. I love that. So
maybe we can take a look at the second.
Yeah. So what else have I got going on here then? So that one was just my kind of natural reverb modulation. I've got one here with a pitch shifter, which I've put on a really kind of artifact-laden sample of my own. So just have a listen to that. So what's going on with my pitch-shifted version here? Yeah, so if you decided, for example, that clock cycle was too fast, I think it is in this case, I could slow it right down to 4th notes. Let's see what happens when I do that then. Yeah, so you can hear that the thing I love about this pitch shifter is that it's actually, it seems to be kind of silky smooth actually. So it preserves the timings and the formants really well, which I find was quite unusual in kind of real-time pitch shifting. Yeah. Again, actively, as you can see, it encourages modulation. So it's just kind of there waiting for you to add modulators to it, as opposed to, again, I go back to the example of kind of your average VST or audio unit that would do pitch shifting. Adding automation or modulation to that is kind of an extra, it's kind of an afterthought, whereas here it's something that's actually built into the functionality of the unit. So yeah, there's that one. I also wanted to just show you another one that I've got today. So I also had a go with a frequency shifter. This is, let's have a quick listen to that. Oops. Haha. So let's see why that's not playing. So I'll come back to that one.
I think we routed the sound earlier before we started.
Yeah,
if you go back to the
we
arranged
did.
page, yeah.
Okay.
Of course.
Okay. Oh yeah, so we did. Yeah, so we did.
We put it to sends only, I think.
Okay, I'm going to abandon that one for now. So the other one I had a look at was this filter drive. So let's just see why I haven't got any sound suddenly. I'm just going to bypass my effect. No. Did I switch it off?
That's weird.
I seem to have had sound just drop. Okay. Okay, so there's my original break. Okay, so this is on my filter drive channel. So I went into a bit more kind of routing with this one actually. So it is the Monarch filter, which is just a really, really great sounding filter. But they really did kind of, I felt like Monarch was one of the synths that they really kind of got right.
Yeah.
With the last lot of kind of paid content for Reaktor 5. This one, so they've pulled out the Monarch filter, Monarch filter mode. So you can hear that. Yeah, so you can hear that's being modulated by a sequencer again, the XYS. I'm just taking a gate signal from X and get right as well. It's quite important when you're building to remember that you're building something that is going to be used. So if it's not kind of functional at a panel level, then you need to have a think about which way you can move everything around.
Yeah.
Previously, you would have had to go into the panel edit mode, but that's the other great thing about blocks. The panel edit previously, where you could have by mistake just pulled the dial in the wrong direction, and it would have kind of completely messed up the whole of the panel display.
I've been there.
Yeah. I think most people have built a new module. It would stack it in the top left. That's different now again with rounds. You can see it finds an empty space on the panel and puts it there ready to go, which I love. So we've got a little delay on there. Let's see if we can start modulating that. So it might be quite fun to just build an extra LFO for this delay effect. Okay, so in the boutique, I'm just going to, sorry, in the bento box rather, I'm just going to build a mod LFO. Sorry, let's just drag that in there. Oh, let's put them over there, never mind. So that one's a little extra one, which I don't need. Yeah, I'm just going to use the reset signal from the clock that we've got already to go in there, and then I'm going to use the output from that LFO to go into one of the mod inputs of the rounds delay. So if I can just get that, there we go. So we're going to go into mod A there. So we should be able to start generating modulation for that instantly, more or less. What I thought might be quite good fun would be to add some to the delay time. I think it will probably be the most interesting and sort of obvious effect for us to do. So I'm just going to add a bit of positive modulation there. Now you can see already that A input is kind of flashing, so that means that I'm definitely getting something from that LFO. If I turn that up, what I want it to do is to just trigger that envelope cycle for every bar. At the moment you can see it's going to do it for every 16 steps. So I'm just going to try resetting this down, and we'll just experiment until we get something we like anyway. So let's try that on 4 for now. more of an intense one. That was a drum beat once upon a time.
Yeah. I was going to say you could go crazy with it all with one sound, leave all the settings and just replace the sound. It's the input sound,
let's
and
do
then
it.
you just never know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great idea. So let's just put this break into here, shall we? Just see what happens now. Yeah, the other modes of the filter are worth exploring as well. Yeah, we've got some fairly crazy artifacts in the sound at this point. Let's turn feedback down a bit. Yeah, so I mean, we could even try kind of rerouting some of these other connections here. So how about instead of using modulation A from our envelope A, if you highlight any of these, you can see what's going on as well. So envelope A, obviously, it will show you the connections from envelope A if I have it highlighted. Really, really handy when you've got loads and loads of wires on the screen. So yeah, just instantly you can just swap that out, just see what happens. So now we're controlling the filter on the driver as well. Yeah, so for example, if you then wanted to kind of automate some of that stuff,
It's self-oscillating now.
It's just self-oscillating now. Yeah. Oh, another thing that I noticed actually when I was previously level there, when we can't actually hear anything, the reason for that is the Monarch filter actually has noise built into it.
Right.
So it's actually, you know, emulating an analog filter in as much that even when there's nothing going through it, there's still something there, which I think makes a really great difference to the sound as well, actually. Yeah, so I just wanted to show you here, if for example you wanted to configure any of those for automation, it's as easy as just hitting the configure button here and then just going into, for example, if I want to do the rate of the LFO, hopefully now that's come up as frequency there, and I can just right click once I'm in the arrange view and hopefully show the automation lane. I think, oh, it's showing me the modulation lane there, but that's how you get around to doing stuff like that. So yeah,
or you could just map
really
that to a controller, and you could just pick 3 or 4 key sounds that affect key parameters that affect the sound the most, and then just go crazy. And record it all.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, we were chatting before about this. I kind of I've got really into recently. Is getting all of my modulation from envelopes and LFOs, just kind of stacking loads of that up, and then that final parameter that I want to tweak, whether it's just like the cutoff frequency of the filter, I'm just kind of recording in live with a controller, not even as automation though, just literally kind of jamming out and just as a resampling track.
So just as audio?
Yeah, just as audio, and then I've just got, you know, a 5-minute jam of
and then
that,
you can put that back into
absolutely,
Reaktor
resample. Yeah, so all that stuff. It's absolutely great for that.
Yeah, and I mean that only took a couple of minutes to
yeah,
build.
yeah, absolutely, yeah. And of course, you could also get into the morphing as well, which is a great little feature. So we've got the snapshot morphing. You could sort of build up some snapshots here. And then if you go into edit mode, you can see the morphing panel appears here. They've actually changed it with 6 slightly. But yeah, you can basically that'll allow you to morph multiple parameters just with like one controller as well.
Right, okay.
So because what it will do is it will morph between snapshots of a whole setting of dials and faders.
So like presets.
Yeah. So or moving that manually as well, you're going to get drastic changes to the sound.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
So we tried the frequency shifter one more time?
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with that.
Maybe
There was maybe something going on with that, so let's just see if that'll work now. No,
thank you. The audio was routed to the wrong place.
I think maybe it's just, thank you. So
if you just go to I/O,
yeah, thanks.
And then put it to master.
Oh, thanks, cheers. I forgot we changed
Hey!
that. Hey!
It's always something.
Thanks, yeah, always something funky going on. So, okay, let's see what's going on with this then, shall we? So I need to just turn this on now, I think. Right, so it appears that I'm triggering the filter with, let's just have a look at the panel here. Yeah, so I'm triggering some clock pulses from the X output again. So if I start taking these out, yeah, and you can see that's also triggering some modulation of this morphine filter. I got both of these from the user library as well.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, we could build another modulation track pretty easily if we wanted to. I'd like to show you this actually because with the XYS sequencer and with anything that generates a gate signal output, you'll see that a lot with blocks, gate outputs. You build an envelope for it.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's just literally on and off. You're just going to get
like
a short pulse. Nothing really that usable. You need to be able to move that shape. You need to be able to shape that over time. Mm-hmm. So I just do like an alt drag on the one that I've got here. It'll preserve that connection, but then you can just change that connection if you want. So we could go from the Y output, for example. And then let's try wiring that to, I know, the mod input of the frequency shifter and maybe the mod B input of the filter. So now, if I go to my XYS sequencer, that's showing me the steps that it's going to output. You can do some pretty funky things with this as well. You can change the direction of the XY grid so they can sort of float upwards as well. Right, so now I've got a modulation track here, if I can change it. Okay, so let's see. I've got an FM input as well, I haven't used that actually. Let's try going into the FM input. So, I think we might need a pitch for that actually. Let's try that, getting one from here. Oh, sorry.
That's part of the experimentation process.
That's another thing I would say when you're building. Generally, you have to like keep an eye on your volumes, especially when you're using the filters. These higher kind of resonance, you can see that's just kind of starting to feed back on itself a bit there. Yeah, sort of self-oscillate essentially. So yeah, what's going on here then? Okay, let's add one of the. I'm going to add a little. I'm actually going to try putting another. I'm going to try putting another break through that. So let's try putting this one through that effect. You can hear that's pitch of those like horn stabs.
Yeah.
It's quite interesting. Yeah, so I'm going to go. This time I'm going to go into the blocks library and just pull out one of the rounds reverbs as well, which is absolutely great.
Yeah. Big fan of those.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a nice big kind of stereo reverb unit. So we'll wire up both the left and the right. Okay. So I'm going to need that to output into the right as well. There we go. Right, so let's see what we can do with this. Let's try using this envelope for our Mod A input. Okay, I'm just going to take the split screen off for a minute so that I can see. As you can see, you might need to spend a bit of time kind of moving stuff around so that you can see everything. So we've got an A input. Yeah, that was, again, that used to be a drum beat. So
Well, you could set that up as an auxiliary channel as well.
you absolutely could, yeah. You could parallel mix that. Yeah, obviously, you can. The thing is, you can actually modulate anything. So you could modulate the mix level of the reverb. You can see that reverb taking effect there. Yeah, so I mean that other, yeah, I think I've got another couple of things I'll probably take out here just so that we can see more clearly what's going on, the ones that I'm not using. Yeah, so yeah, I mean you can see it just doesn't really take you long to get things.
Even that.
Probably not really going to be peaking Ableton out too much there. Let me just bring my window. So yeah, you can see. Look, that was using something like 9%. 9%. Oh, there it is. Yeah, 9%. Power up some of the other. Let's try some of the other ones. You copy that same drum beat over here. Doesn't like that one when I do it, does it? Thank you. I'm trying to do too many things. Yeah, so let's try that drum beat on the pitch shifted version. Yeah, yeah, some various bits of craziness that you could just
online afterwards. Yes, it will. So you can watch it back then. We got another one from Facebook asking about Reaktor Player.
Yeah.
What's possible within Reaktor Player in terms of editing? Is
So
it just running
the idea of Reaktor Player is that it's actually just a player for the paid content add-ons.
Okay.
So you can't do any of the back-end editing, as far as I'm aware.
Okay.
It's for paid content such as Razor, Monarch. Yep. If people didn't want to buy Reaktor 6 in its entirety, they could just buy the content separately and run it in the player, which is free.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice one. Cool. So unfortunately, that is it for today's Friday Forum. Hopefully you're inspired to get busy with blocks, which you should be, but if you want to learn more about Reaktor and sound design in general, make sure you check out our courses at Point Blank Music School. And we'll be back next week with another FFL, so we'll see you then. Cheers.